I'm going to go ahead and show you how to put together the roof for this lodge. I'm going to go ahead and glue the shingles down onto regular corrugated cardboard. And this is the page for the plan of it. I do want to point out on the plan that if you see on the plan right here where the fold is and where the corners, I'm going to bring this up into the camera, you'll see that there's a very small circle right here. See, there's a little circle right here with a little plus in it. That's where we're going to poke onto the corners here so that you can kind of frame this thing out. Since I'm using corrugated cardboard, I want to kind of watch out because, you know, you will see the corrugation on the end, and I don't want that to show on the very front of the cabin. So I would prefer that this side of the corrugation be shown on the front of the cabin, and that will hide a little bit better. In order to do that, you kind of have to know the direction the corrugation is going on the cardboard. So right now, on this particular piece of cardboard, the corrugation is going crossways in this direction. And I am going to lay it down, and you see on the plan it says cardboard corrugation this direction. On these 6 points, on the 4 corners of the roof and where the fold goes, I'm going to poke a hole into this cardboard. And you can just use a really sharp pencil to do it. I've got kind of a sharp pointed dental tool. I'm going to use that and maybe get a little more exact. So I'm just going to poke it through there, poke it through here, poke it through here on all 4 corners of this thing right here. And then I am simply going to connect the dots so I'll know what size the roof is. Now the next step is to cut this square out. You could just cut it with a pair of scissors. I'm going to use an X-Acto knife, and I've got myself kind of one of these handy cutting boards. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to throw it underneath of there so I don't accidentally cut my tabletop. Now after we've got the square cut, I do want to fold this in the middle. And I don't want to actually cut it. I want to just kind of crush it in the middle. So something like a butter knife, a dull butter knife would work pretty well. I'm going to lay this right on the center line. I happen to have a dental tool with kind of a blunt edge on it. It doesn't matter exactly what you do, but don't cut it. Just try to push a few times and kind of crush that right in the middle like that and kind of really indent that cardboard. And while the ruler's on it, you can kind of fold it with the ruler edge that's on it there. And it looks like that's probably just about right. So we're going to go ahead and fold that right on that line right there. These are the wood shingles for mold number 240. And one thing that you want to do, some people like to start from the middle and work their way down. I like to start from the outside and work my way up. Now make sure the shingles are going the right way, because if you put them upside down, it's going to look kind of weird on your building. You know, the roof is kind of going this way, so these shingles on this side are going to go like this. The shingles on this side are going to go like that. So what I would do is line the shingles up on the very outside edge, and I'm going to have 2 rows of shingles here, and I see where they come to kind of meet at the top here. And then you're going to do the same thing and put 2 rows of shingles there, and they should pretty much meet right at the top level like that. So that looks like that's going to work really well for our roof. So if for some reason you put these on and the shingles are way down here, you may have to trim up your roof. Or when you test fit them, if they're too close and they ram into each other at the top, you may have to extend them past the edge of the roof down there. But just sort of test fit them on there to make sure that they're going to fit the way they're going to fit. Now you also want to do the same thing for the small roof piece. Now to hold these roofs at the proper angle, I've got a couple of roof braces on the plan here. There's 2 roof braces kind of top to bottom here, and there's also a small roof brace right here. Basically we're going to do it the same way. We're just going to take some spare cardboard, we're going to poke holes in the corners, we're going to draw it out, cut it out, and then glue it inside of the roof. Okay, here's the smaller roof, and here's the roof section. What I'm going to do is glue it into place here. Now we're also going to glue these kind of a low slope onto these 2 underneath of the roof here. when you glue them on, you need at least, I would put them in about 1 inch from the ends when you do it. Because if you put them too close to the edge, they're going to run into the logs that actually form the peak of the roof. Now, one thing I want to mention, on these shingles right here, when you glue them down or before you glue them down, you might want to take a look at the back. Sometimes the edge will kind of come up. I don't know if I can show it on the video, but you notice there's kind of an edge right here, and that's where the back of this tile kind of scoops back in. And what happens is, if the inside is depressed like this, you can put all kinds of glue in here, but it's not going to stick very well. So my suggestion, if you see any of this happening where it kind of scoops in on the backside, take a piece of coarse sandpaper like this, take it and set it down, and just kind of take that edge off like that. And when you do that, you can kind of see on the back of it where that white edge is, and that's a lot more flat. That's going to give me a lot better gluing edge. And one thing that I really would strongly recommend is this tool right here. This is a pair of tile nippers. And what it's used for ceramic tile to kind of nip off the edges of bathroom tile so that you can make the tiles fit together. Now, one thing you want to do before you get too far along on this is test fit the roofs that you've got. You also may notice that there's really nothing supporting the back. This kind of wants to fall down a little bit. I mean, if you wanted to, you could probably glue something on the back wall here to hold it up if you want. But this roof is so small that I'm not even going to worry about it. If it falls down a little, it falls down a little. It's not going to make any difference. The main roof will just drop on top like this, and it looks like it kind of moves around just a little bit. But I'm not going to worry too much about it. I think it fits just fine. If there's any kind of gap underneath of there, the angle of the roof, the overhang of the roof is going to hide it. Now, as I test fit these tiles onto the side of the roof, it looks like they fit really nice going up like this. But I did notice that if I turn it up a little bit, I can kind of see the corrugation underneath of the edge right here. It would be better if this roof kind of hung over a little bit to kind of hide that corrugation. But what I'm going to do instead is I'm just going to take a hobby knife and I'm just going to cut this at an angle and cut that corrugation off. Now I'm going to go ahead and start with this side of the roof. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take 4 of these shingles. Once again, be sure your shingles are not accidentally upside down because that would look weird. Be sure they're right side up. Go ahead and test fit them across the roof, and when you get done this test fit, they should overhang on each side by just a little bit, by an 1/8 inch on this side and an 1/8 inch on this side. They should be pretty close. You find that if your shingles are a little short or if your cardboard is a little long, you can always trim your cardboard off before you get started. But I'm just going to go ahead and take the nippers and nip these little ends off. So what you want to do is you want to get them just about where they're going to be there. And this actually does a pretty nice job of nipping it off actually pretty close here. And even if you nip it off like this, you don't necessarily have to sand it. I almost kind of like the idea of it being rough because it kind of looks like rough wood on the side. And if it's an old cabin, nothing is going to be like perfectly straight on the side. So let's just kind of leave it like that. this small roof is a little, it's going to be a little trickier to do. One thing I did is I trimmed out just a little bit of that so that when we drop it off, it's a little easier to get it on there. It kind of goes on and off easier because it can clear that point that's right there. Now, when we put the shingles on here, it's going to be a little trickier because it's not kind of an even width. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to put one side on, and then we're going to go ahead and put a second row up on top to fill it to the top. And then we're going to use these little double rows right here. We're going to put one on, glue it in, and trim it off. And what we're going to do is we're going to save the unused half of this to spin around and go on the other side of the roof. Okay, now we're finishing up the roof, so the next thing that we have to do on the roof here is we have to put the peak on. And if you look at mold number 240, there are actually two different kinds of peaks here. Let's see if I can get these into the camera if they'll focus. One has wood grain going one way and one has wood grain going the other way. I'm hoping that the camera is focusing here. There we go. So you want to be sure that they're all going the same way. I don't think it really matters which way you do it, as long as they're going the same way. Now right here, if you look at the peak of the roof, we have this, and these roof peak pieces are going to just glue straight on the top here. Now you notice that there's kind of a gap or a hole in there, and you notice that they don't really fit down really super well. So what we're going to do is we're going to sand the top ridge just a little, just enough to give it something more of a flat surface. Okay, I've gone ahead and sanded the roof further so you can see that it's pretty flat on the top, and this actually I think fits really nice, kind of a really nice flush there. I'm going to go ahead and glue those on, and then I think I'll go and trim off some of this excess cardboard that I see here. That kind of bothers me a little bit.